And you join me here on the Subsea UK stand at Offshore Europe 2019. And Neil is here. Neil, how's things been for you so far here at the exhibition?
So far, we've found it excellent. I think the whole vibe, particularly the new facility, but there just seems to be a really good vibe about the whole place. I've managed to go around and walk and see some of the other exhibitions around the area, and everyone I've spoken to thinks this is absolutely fantastic. On the stand itself, speaking to some of the companies, our members that we have here, they found it great. There's been a lot of traffic, meaning lots of people coming onto the stand. So far, excellent. Can't really fault it.
And what's your hopes for the remainder of the Connect exhibition?
Well, I think really when we talk about Subsea, because we represent the Subsea sector, is that there's so many delegations from around the world coming to the UK to look at what the UK has to offer. And that's what we're about. We're helping the UK promote subsea capability, and we have become world leaders in that. So there are many companies that we hope that these delegations will come and see. I hosted a session this morning for the DIT, the government body, Department of International Trade, and it was packed with foreign delegations wanting to learn about the innovations and the technology that we have in the UK. So really we want to try and promote the UK capability and encourage export opportunities and business with other countries around the world.
How would you explain the moods over the last couple of days?
The mood has been really positive, I think. I think the venue has actually helped, let's say, the whole flow of the event. But again, generally speaking to the customers, the clients, they feel that there's a lot more positive opportunities. They're talking business, and generally out with the whole vibe of business is much more positive as well. So this is a great platform, I think, for companies to talk about what projects they have coming up, but also a great place to actually talk about what the services and products they have to offer as well. So overall, a very good, positive vibe around the place.
Now we're here to talk Subsea, so run me through the history of the organisation.
Well, Subsea UK was formed in 2004. It was supported with both Scottish Government and Westminster to create an organisation that would help the subsea sector in the UK grow. The North Sea has particularly depended on the subsea technologies. If you think about in the early days when some of these installations were built offshore, there were big installations which drilled into the reservoirs pretty much vertically below them. And then over the years, as technology allowed the directional drilling, as we call it, to reach a little bit further, that extended the reach of these big installations. What we did particularly in the UK was to perfect the subsea tieback, the subsea Christmas tree, as we call it. Essentially, the valve, it goes on the seabed, so drilling maybe 10 kilometres away from the host facility, and then tying back to this host facility so we could actually reach further away from the asset, which meant that these early assets that we built back in the 70s and 80s, which were originally designed for 20 years, they have now reached 40 years plus, and they are still producing because we managed to tie back these subsea fields into a host facility. And as we've actually increased, let's say, maximising the recovery of these fields, we've had to manage the asset integrity, so we've become real experts at looking at underwater corrosion. Things that have grown up here, I think ROV technology, remotely operated vehicles, sensor technology, camera technology, all that had to be developed around this infrastructure as it became, well, let's say, older in its day. So that's why we've really perfected the subsea technologies and exported that around the world.
Now you mentioned innovation there, does innovation stop here, or do you see Subsea continuing to innovate? We've got fields out there that continue to produce, and how do you see the future going?
Well, the future, particularly for Subsea, we're a huge enabler for the future. If we think about smaller fields that don't, let's say, justify the building of a big topside, surface structure, we can tie back a subsea facility, and that continually has been pushed the boundary. The further you reach away from a facility, the harder it is to make hydrocarbons flow because it cools down, the viscosity changes. So there's a lot of technology continuing to develop in that space as well. And driving costs down. Could we put more on the seabed as we have on the surface? So instead of going subsea to surface to shore, it may be subsea to shore. So there are technologies continually being developed in that area. And part of the technologies that have been developed for offshore oil and gas are very transferable in the energy transition as well. So the same technologies that have been developed for offshore, let's say oil and gas, like in ROVs, seabed survey for laying pipelines, are the same sort of technologies and companies that are surveying the seabed for laying the cables for the offshore renewable wind farms as well. So these technologies have huge benefits not only in oil and gas but right across a range of other sectors in the offshore industry as well.
Lots to hear and talk about here on the Subsea stand. We're at SPE Offshore Europe 2019.